with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me, I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats, circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready? Who ready?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all for joining. Well, it's just me right now. Hopefully, Mr. Bennett will join us soon. This is the One-on-One Sports Show. My name is Shawnee, and I guess until we get Mr. Bennett will join us, I'll just hold down the fort solo. So, okay, we may have Coach may be joining us too. So, as we saw on our title, as you saw on the thumbnail, the topic concerning Stefon Diggs. For those who may not know, he was released by the New England Patriots earlier today, and to me, it's kind of surprising, kind of not, because he was a effective weapon for them. Literally, this past season was one of the main reasons they was able to get to the Super Bowl. Was a huge weapon for their young quarterback Drake May. But then here comes the off the field issues, to which he has stated that he has pleaded not guilty to it. I believe it was about some strangulation or something like that, just domestic stuff. And I guess once you get that attached to your name, teams just don't really want to fool with you too much anymore. You'd think they probably would just let him, probably put him aside or whatnot, let the situation die down. But a lot of times, once you get that your name soiled in that manner, teams they don't want to they don't want you in their locker room. It basically give you one of them emails. Good luck in your future endeavors. Hopefully, you'll be able to find another team in the future. But yeah, that is pretty much it about Stefon Diggs. I mean, me as a Texans fan, he was a good receiver for the Texans, but unfortunately he was hurt, and so he really wasn't that big of a factor to the team. I think he only played like 3 or 4 games before he was injured. And I remember when the Texans signed him up, they basically took all of his contract that he had with the Vikings. They paid him all up front. So basically he was able to be a free agent that following season. But unfortunately for them, he wasn't really available for them when they picked him up, when they traded for him. But for the Patriots, he was very integral part in that offense. And, once I think he was one of the main reasons why the Patriots ended up beating the Texans, because he had a huge touchdown in that game, and he made some key, just some crucial catches versus the Texans. So he was a big reason why the Patriots were able to make it to the Super Bowl. And for the most part, I didn't hear anything negative between him and his teammates. He sounded like he got along with his quarterback. So, but when that off the field stuff, the recent one that came into existence, I know normal time, us as a team here on the show, we try our best to kind of keep those off the field kind of personal stories. We don't really, because those are many times they're incomplete. Many times you be speaking about something from a subjective point of view, which you could, paint somebody in the wrong, negative light. So we just kind of keep it high level, sports related for as much as we can. So it pretty much goes the same thing with Diggs. You just know that there was some off the field things, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the reasons why the Patriots decided to, go their separate ways. So, but until we get some of the fellas to come in, I want to talk some NBA. I don't know. It may not be part of our pre-show meeting or whatnot, the stuff that we want to go down, but I could talk some NBA till they come back. So right now, I have the game, the Knicks and OKC game in the background, and right now we are in the second half of the season. So this is where teams will begin to start mashing the brakes mashing the gas per se during the season because they're trying to make a playoff run. And one of the topics that right now I believe that what's up, Coach? One of the top, I believe that the top teams in the NBA East are the Boston Celtics, which surprises me because there's no Jason Tatum, but they've been able to hold their own, especially Jaylen Brown. But really, the top team in the East is the Detroit Pistons. They remind me so much of the Rockets. Really more the Rockets of last year. They're not the best shooting team, but they have athleticism. They play good defense. They can rebound, and they're gritty and tough. And that reminded me of the Rockets last year. This year, the Rockets, they're a good team, but they just struggle in the fourth quarters. But the Pistons, though, I have them number one in the East. And I believe a healthy Cleveland Cavaliers squad can be number two. I know there's the Knicks, but the biggest thing, cause especially after the Cavs made the trade for James Harden, the biggest thing about James Harden, you didn't want him to be your primary player, the ball going through his hands in the clutch time or in a big game in the playoff. That's not Cleveland's issue. They have Donovan Mitchell for that. And you already know, if you've been watching him, he has no problem filling those shoes. They just say, hey, Harden, you come in there. And at times I think Harden is option 2 or 3. Because last time Harden was in this situation was with Brooklyn. And many believe that Brooklyn, when he was with the Nets, could have potentially went to the finals. It was the only season they had before all hell broke loose that team. But that was the season that when Durant barely missed a three because he had a toe on the line. And it was a two-pointer, rule of two-pointer. But Kyrie was injured, and then James Harden was injured, and that pretty much took the Nets' chances of going deep and making a deep playoff run. But at that time, Harden was playing well with KD. So far, I believe he may hit some kind of a little valley right now with the Cavs. But initially, he came in guns a-blazing with the Cavs. And I believe in the playoffs, they have Donovan Mitchell there to handle the closing. The closing, James Harden, you don't have to worry about that because you already know what you're going to do. You're going for whatever reason, if the team depends on you, you're not going to shoot shots. Also, you're going to go from like 20 field goal attempts to 8. Just unexplicably. We don't know what happened to you. Donovan Mitchell going to take care of that. But the one thing that James Harden does do, he is very good about getting the big man involved. So Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, their games have increased because of James Harden. That's one thing he can do. If you look at his stops, the big man he plays with, they numbers just go up. So what you got? I don't know if you saw like the little pre-notes that we had on Facebook, Coach, about the topic. There was a lot of football in there. But Mr. Bennett out here, I guess nobody, it was just me holding about 4
Some basketball, yeah.
Yeah, so let me get some basketball in before everybody jump on. You got anything to add about the current
NBA? I came in, you was talking about the top teams. I agree with you. Detroit is probably the top team in the East just because I think they're the youngest team and they'll probably play the best ball as a unit. But I still got OKC and San Antonio above Houston. I think Houston's probably in the West. They're probably 4th or 5th in the playoff. Even though they got KD, I would give them I would think them in LA would sort of battle it out to be in that top spot if they met in the playoffs. If they, LA meeting anybody else early and it's over. But I think Houston, they still a year away or two away in the West because you got OKC who's still at the top with players being injured and key players. San Antonio, they've been playing the best ball since the All-Star break. So I think Houston still has a way to go. LA, they all in their heads. They coach is too young or somebody. But yeah, and Boston, I give them as far as the East with Boston, I would say they probably second or third. It can go either way. Cleveland would be third or fourth. It depends on how they playing. And like you said with Harden, over the last, his whole career, he's never really been that man in the playoff time. And I think him coming in with Cleveland, because that still gives them a guard, a high volume shooting guard, but he also likes to throw the lob, get those assists up. So down the stretch, that could help them if he's playing point, maybe penetrating and dishing it out to the shooters. I think that would help Cleveland, but he's still going to have to play defense, though. That's his biggest thing. He got to play defense. Even if he ain't scoring, he has to play defense, and that's one of his liabilities.
Only time, the best year I've seen James Harden play defense was the first year that Houston picked up Chris Paul. And, Chris Paul is a leader, and you saw James Harden gave the defensive effort. And that's why they was able to go as far as the playoffs they did. They probably, they had like a 3-2 lead on the Warriors before losing Chris
Paul
Paul.
got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the best season I've seen James Harden play defense. I remember at that time he was wanting the Rockets to get backcourt help. Then he received it. They went well. But then after the next year when Paul was healthy and they still lost to Golden State at 6, I think the Rockets just freaked out and that's when they made the trade for Paul and Westbrook and all that.
So how long ago was that? 7 years ago? 8 years ago?
No, that
about
was
7, 8.
No, I forgot. Like no more than 5.
It was way more than that. Chris Chris Paul done win about 6 teams since that time. So just asking you this in regards to Boston, right? Do you think Tatum comes back and plays even if they go to the playoffs, which they probably will, but do you think he comes back this year or does he wait till next year?
I think he's pushing to come back this year. I think if they make it to the playoffs and they depending on the opponent they pull for that first round, and because they got a good shot, he may, they may try to entertain the putting him on the court. I really don't know because he's coming after that Achilles injuries, and one he's coming back faster than most people believe. So, I don't know how that injury will be if you come back too fast, too quickly, whatnot. Because right now, remember KD had that injury, and right now even though he went through a normal recuperation period, I don't see no
KD came back too soon.
That.
KD came back too soon. Remember, he came back, then he had to set out a whole another year and a half again.
Yeah, he came back because he had a calf injury.
Yeah, he came back too soon.
And then it popped on him in that finals. And then that's when he was out. And with Tatum, he already, it already popped on him in the finals. What was that, Game 7?
And that was June?
Yeah. So if he's ready, he's ready. It's going to it will, because the Celtics already, so far this year, they already started merging like a normal team will. They had to get accustomed not playing with him. So putting him in, especially with no warm-up game or whatnot, it's going to mess up their current chemistry. So then you got to say, okay, I know this is Jason Tatum, but we've been already meshing well without him to get this far. Do we need to put? It's almost like in baseball, you have a starting pitcher, but all of a sudden he was injured, but all of a sudden he's available by playoff. You don't really put him back on the mound to start a game. You will put him as a relief pitcher because you don't want to put that stress load. Where in basketball, you don't know how the chemistry gonna be when he first comes back. Cause you already know he's Jason Tatum. As soon as you put him on the court, many of the other players gonna start deferring to him automatically for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think that would hurt them though with Jason Tatum because he can get you 25 every night, 30 every night. So I don't think that would hurt because you have bench players now playing as starting roles, so they're going to just go back to. Just in reference to him though, I think he should just stay out, come back next year because Boston is losing nothing. I would just stay out because he's still in a good position. And I wouldn't want him to come back and re-injure it and be out. Him and Hillenberg, I would hope that they just set out because I think he's setting out the entire year. They're not even looking to bring him back. But they both had the same injury within days apart. So I would just, hope that he come back a lot more healthier because I think Boston will sort of take over the East if he comes back and they get a nice draft pick. Because and I don't even like Boston, but I can see them being one of the top teams. Them and Detroit will be battling for the top seeds every year for at least 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, and depending on, I think New York can be up there, but New York always seems like just a piece away.
Yeah, they got to trade. They got to trade. They got to trade some of those liabilities.
What hurt them was when they traded for Bridges and got those 5 first-round picks. Now that kind of handicapped them, from growth and whatnot. I never knew Bridges was worth that much.
He's not.
He got more than Luka.
Yes, he's not.
So, but that was because that was him and Jalen Brunson teammates, Villanova. It was him.
Yeah, he owned Brunson and what's his name? The small.
You know what? He's on this.
They playing now, and I can't even think of his name.
Vincenzo.
And what's your name? Went to Villanova too. Smart. Now what's his name, man? What's it, man? Hart.
Oh yeah, Josh Hart. Yeah, he's still on the Knicks, I believe.
Yeah, he's still there. That's what I'm saying. They got all of those players.
Yeah, that's why they was calling him when they was all together last year. It was like a new Villanova squad. But since we talking about the NBA now, it was something I've been wanting a topic I've been wanting to talk about over the past couple of weeks. So, when it comes to the NBA, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this because I'd be like, there's no out of the 4 major sports, so that's NFL, hockey, baseball, Major League Baseball, and NBA, and no other sport I can think about, even though I don't follow hockey like that, but they clearly don't have, from what it looks like, they clearly don't have this issue. No other sport has to constantly damn near bribe. They don't have to bribe their players to play hard. They just basically, as soon as they already know what the deal is. As soon as they go and they feel the play, they're gonna give it 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Most times, especially hockey and football, you go out there and give yourself 50% if you want to. You ain't gonna be playing next week or you're gonna be injured.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball is basically kind of the same way. Them dudes, they don't use the energy level like the other 3 sports do, but still, them dudes competitive on that, especially the pitchers. They want to pitch, and literally pitch till their arms snap off.
Mm-hmm.
But even baseball, with the amount of games at the time of year that they play in the dog days of summer, so you can understand where a player may take off a game here and there. Because
Down
many
in
times with
Florida,
baseball, yeah,
down in
yeah,
Texas, 95 degrees, 100 degrees. Yeah.
that's the main reason, man. When the Rangers built their new stadium, the fans were so excited because they was out there playing in that heat during the
Mm.
summer days. It was just getting hot, but now they got air conditioning now.
Yeah.
But even then, because baseball plays in series, they may
Mm-hmm.
go play this team for best of three, best of four sometimes. So if a player may take off one game, okay, you may see him in the other two or three, versus that same team. So they don't really hit that much in baseball. But in basketball, that's the only sport that you hear about that players, they had to implement a rule that you got to play over 60,
Yeah, they
65
they
games
put
for the
like
MVP to be
65
qualified to
games
be
this year.
MVP.
Yeah.
Um, the commissioner is throwing all these tournaments. You got an in-season tournament with the NBA Cup. You got the play-in, try to help the teams, the potential ninth and 10th seeds of each conference. Now they're trying to do all these different type of tournaments and all-star games. He's doing all of this simply because the players are because basketball players, for the most part, they get the most visibility, the highest visibility out of all the other sports.
Yeah.
Uh, except for baseball, where their contracts are longer per year. Most of the time, basketball contracts are higher on an average. For an average, but many times they'll have the higher contracts, so they're getting the money. And it's also guaranteed money, just like in MLB. But they just don't want to play. They don't have to. You don't want to play, so the game is bending over backwards for them. So my whole with all that, I'm just saying, what do you think about just the current state of NBA basketball? Because it's like almost every season now that the commissioner is introducing some new way, and you hear people complaining about it. But I'm like, it's not his fault. It's the players. It's always something going on in the NBA. What's up, Anton? I appreciate you joining us. It's always something going on in the NBA that, from inside, from the players' perspective, that is kind of souring their product in a way. It's like now that they have access to the money they're receiving, you can see the product on the court. So I just want to hear your thoughts about that. So is the NBA currently in a bad situation going into the future?
No. NBA is still going to get even more popular with the introduction to overseas games and going into overseas neighborhoods. The NBA, well, they just got a boost on. Well, I think they're going to get a boost with their salary caps over the next few
Mm-hmm.
years and year. So I think this. Yeah, I don't see it in any negative way. Um, there may be some concessions made based off salaries, but even with that, they still have clauses in the salaries to certain things they can't do. So, and the NBA only has 400 players, 425 on average total players. So that's not a lot of players compared to football and baseball and even hockey sometimes. I think hockey, 22, 24 or something. And then, so I don't see it going anywhere because it's currently right now a 16-year-old Shawnee that can jump 46 inches and, and it's a lot of wear and tear on your body. I don't know if you play basketballs all day on the wooden floor. And it's a lot of quick wear and tear on the body. And you saw it in players who you thought we assumed would be around uninjured, and then you see two of the top 10 players, Olympic medalists, go out. And typically every year you got some players with some knee joints, some ankle joints, and those things like that keep them out because that's a lot of impact on those joints.
Mm-hmm.
The money it will always be there because again, then they just go from TNT to these other platforms
Yeah,
to bring
these
in more
streamers got
money.
them super money,
Yeah,
bro.
see, so I think it'd be around. We won't see the change, Shawnee. I'm older than you. You won't see the change either. You won't see the change, brother, because if they could. I was just seeing something today, and I'll be quiet. The top 5 NBA teams, all of them are worth over $5 billion. All five. Golden State won. I think they're like 11 billion. The Lakers are like 10 billion. Who else was that? I forget the other two. I just paid attention to it because I was like, yeah, I can see that. I can see that
The
happening.
main
Like
market teams.
so, so the markets are getting bigger. And Shiny, it's like more kids are being introduced to it. Like I said, around the world. So I wouldn't mind. Well, I ain't gonna say I wouldn't mind. I can see over the next 3 or 4 years them playing games overseas to other countries, playing an
Like the
NBA game
NFL.
or two. Yeah, I can see that because the money's there, and you might go to you're gonna get more. What's his name? Deontay Cooper. What's it? What's his
Oh,
name?
Giannis, and
Giannis.
then
You're
you
gonna
have
see more of them.
Wembanyama.
But because he's setting out, it's a money thing with him. And he's gonna sign again when they offer him at $600 million to stay. He gonna sign,
It
but
depends, cause yeah, I don't
he
know
gonna
what
sign.
Milwaukee gonna do. Cause I think he wants to leave finally,
Yeah,
but we'll see. And yeah, I agree with you, Anton. Anton mentioned that NBA players are the most coddled athletes in North American
yeah,
sports.
for sure.
They are. Like I say, they're the most visible. It's easy to
Mhm.
recognize their face, especially now in today's culture. NBA is pretty much synonymous with hip hop. That culture.
Yeah, it's
So you
the
see a
cream of the
lot
crop.
of the players. Yeah, a lot of the players they hang out with the artists, whatnot. So they just got a lot of visibility. They did that in the past, but it's even more so now. Many of them want to be rappers and so on. It just always seems like the NBA is moving, is trying to introduce something to just raise their competitive level. No other sport is sitting there, and like I say, you put them on the ice, you put them on the field, baseball field, football field, competitors automatically cut on. You don't have to even ask them to. As soon as they see you just half-assing a little bit, they taking you out. Hey, it's just not even a question. Basketball, it's like they literally the first half of the season, until the All Star break, it's just like they just coasting through it, and then everybody want to flip the switch after the All Star break when they get a playoff run, and so it's just I was always just because you always hear about the AAU and how they affect on the young people when they playing ball. Well, that same crowd, those same young folks who are playing in AAU, they the ones who are getting older and ultimately coming into the league. So, mix that with NIL and how, like I always said, like as great as NIL do, because you always want the players, college players to be paid, but you open up Pandora's box. It's a gift and a curse. Mr. Bennett,
Yes,
it's a
sir.
gift and a curse with NIL. You're giving kids,
They
18,
know.
19-year-olds, millions
Yeah.
of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
and you already know what that mindset. And people think they parents don't know no better neither. They don't know how to manage that type of money. But all of this entitlement, they ultimately end up in the NBA, which kind of further, I don't want to say soil product, but as fans, we can see the product on the court as far as the competitiveness in today's NBA is not the same as it was like when LeBron first came in the NBA in '03. They was more competitive back then than they are now. And we're not even getting back to the 90s. They wanted to change the game up because it was too physical. So it's okay, we want people to score a little bit more. I have no problem with that. But it seemed like the closer we get into today's time, the competitiveness was just taken out. So it was just always something that I had in mind with the NBA. I love the NBA. I love watching the games, but I'm not blinded to the fact that, like, dude, y'all don't. It's like y'all
But the
have to
game is
be.
certainly the game is more competitive though. They just changed the rules where you can't foul and take their eye out, but you see it on the court. They play good D, but again, that wear and tear on your knees and hips, that's more impactful than playing football every 35 seconds, things like that. Because not everybody in footballs have to have that same impact. But
Hmm.
when they do make it, it makes a big deal. That's why they wear the equipment. But the basketball, some of these, they can, a lot of these guys be on canes after 5, 10 years of playing that hardwood floor. It just does something to the lower body. You
Yeah,
see
they
it.
got them longer
But
frames too.
yeah, but I think, and I agree with you when it comes to the devilish aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah.
They get a lot of them. You see a lot of them on these commercials, getting all the endorsements and things like that. And the players are a little bit different. They're a little bit more friendlier and close knit and feeling based, than it was a few years ago. So I think that's going to be interesting as the future to see what players sort of develop that Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant instinct, because they're talking about players now don't even want to be the face of the league.
Well, and I have before I let you go, Mr. Bennett, because we always that's always been a question when LeBron and Steph has they and KD has they been getting older. The question is who will be the next face of the NBA? And you hear people say, Anthony Edwards, but Anthony Edwards, outside of whatever stories may be out there off the court, when they say Anthony Edwards, it's generally basketball related. Like it's just strictly basketball. You want to say Anthony Edwards because you respect the way he comes, how he plays the game and whatnot. In today's society, especially when as LeBron was getting older in his career, it's no longer the face because it's so much. You are so accessible and just you're so visible to the society, especially with social media and whatnot. When they say face of the league, especially in the NBA, it's no longer just strictly about your on the court success. When they come, like LeBron is a perfect example. LeBron is the face of the league, and many times I remember when the players went to the bubble to play, and I remember they somebody asked Patrick Beverly at the time, is the NBA going to continue to play during this COVID season? He say, if LeBron play, everybody else gonna play. And it's just basically how because he was a face. But because he was a face, they always the first to put a microphone in front of him when something happens. You remember during that COVID season, there was also it was huge social action going on at that time with George Floyd and per se. It was huge at that same exact time. They was quick to put a microphone in front of him. They want to hear what he says, and depending what he said automatically going to go. There's people on the other side now who don't have that same viewpoint, and those journalists and whatnot who represent those people, LeBron's quote is going to be right there, bold print. You the face of the league, you got a whole lot more visibility than everybody else. They don't care if after Sengun will say something. He's not. He could say something, but they're not going to care. LeBron says something, it's headline news. And that headline news goes for both within the NBA community and outside the NBA community. So a lot of time with these players, they be like, I don't want to be the face because they know it's not strictly about basketball no more. If something happens, they gonna want your opinion. The media gonna want your opinion on a variety of topics. And right now, it's so it's so you have to be this, you have to be that. If you go left instead of go right, you're gonna have a whole slew of criticism coming your way. They were like, man, I'm just a basketball player, man. I'm just get paid to play basketball, But you asking me about something, maybe like a political or whatever, and I give you my honest opinion about it. Next thing you know, I'm judged by that, and now I got to catch all this hell from the opposite side. That, dude, So that's why a lot of players say, if it was strictly basketball, okay, I could be the face, but we know it's not that in today's society. So if y'all trying to give me that tag, I'm good, man. I'm already making over $300 million a year, in my contract. So just leave me alone, because I don't want that face, because that's just pressure I didn't ask for. I'm used to basketball pressure. I don't want to have pressure dealt, from society unfairly. So, what's up, Dante?
What's going on,
All right,
fellas?
Mr. Ben, we was holding down the fort till y'all came down. We was talking about, I know in the preview y'all was NFL, but we jumped into some NBA.
I was about to say, I leave the office, I go to work, and I come back, and the kids, y'all totally off of script here. We talking NBA at this point, man. Come on, man.
Yes.
But I did want to say, I know, shout out to Trey Taylor in chat. He said LeBron, he didn't necessarily want to smoke either. I don't think he had a choice coming into the league. I mean, I don't know if in my lifetime, and Coach, we go back around the same time. I don't ever remember a player coming into the NBA with that much fanfare. Maybe Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. They might have had that for a minute, but I mean, you talk about a high school kid where ESPN is covering high school games, and this guy's coming to the league. So whether or not he wanted to be the face or not, ESPN and all the outlets and whatnot, he was going to be the face. He was always going to be out there no matter what. Now I think, but I think he kind of grew into it over time. He always had the tag on that he couldn't win anyway. He had that killer instinct. He had to go to Miami and play with D Wade in order to get that. And then in 2012, you had the Trayvon Martin situation, whatnot. So I think he kind of grew into what we kind of see LeBron James is. But I think I certainly agree. I don't think he necessarily wanted it. I just think that, no other really athlete that I can recall had that kind of expectation placed on him at such an early age to be great and great immediately. Maybe Mike Tyson, Tyson was 18, 19 years old. They were talking about he might be heavyweight champion or something like that. But I just don't remember someone garnering that. But again, I think it's really something he grew into. But again, I don't see the fanfare. Like the NBA isn't really putting any shine on anybody the way they did back in the 80s and 90s and certainly even through LeBron. So again, who is going to be the guy that the NBA is going to be? He thought for a minute it could have been Ja Morant and Zion. Those two coming out is like they had an opportunity, but for different reasons, those guys kind of fizzled out. So I don't know where the NBA has its face. The European connection or even the Canadian connection, even though you have Gilgeous-Alexander, he's a great player, but he's not necessarily gathering the general public's imagination. So again, I think the NBA really has a problem in terms of who are they going to have as the next guy, and where you're going to put all your chips in on one guy. I don't know where that's going to be, but certainly I think I'll give credit to LeBron. I'm not saying he's been perfect, but certainly again, I think he's grown into the role that we see now. But it took him several years, that first 7, 8, 9 years before he got there, but eventually he got there. So that's what I'll say on that.
I know.
I'll say this. They have to.
Oh, go ahead, Dante.
I think they need to kind of tilt how they market now. Like, but the NBA, because of like the way the star driven, where it came from, the stars from the 80s, the way they were hyper focused on that, and then Jordan was its own thing, where it's just like it exploded, and it's just like they just pumped it and promoted that. They have to go back to promoting teams, because one thing they've done is people always say, hey, Europe, they have this system where you can come in and you can play, and they're training them at this young age, and they're doing this, and you make them this way. They do that a little bit in America, but they make you go to school or play school for long enough. And now you got guys where you're taking them from your normal friends and everything. It's like, hey, your life is going to be about basketball. I heard Jeff Teague say this, and I'll stand on what he said. You make their life all about basketball, so when they fail, that's all they know. All their friends are basketball. That's all they're around, so they kind of don't know how to handle it. They also are socially awkward. You don't have people's regular personality. and everybody, and that's why Anthony Edwards is loved, because you look at him, and that's a guy from Atlanta. That's a guy from Atlanta. You know it. It comes off of him, and he's more authentic. For everybody else is cookie cutter response answers. Been playing with this team, that team. The start, like when they get that picture, and people think it's so cool when they get that picture of those players. Like, look at all these former NBA guys, and I was like, yeah, but that's kind of like curated. That's like curated and picked there. This isn't a team where they're naturally there and they're naturally just, regular guys. And I think if they can, I don't know if it's getting back to that anytime soon, because every star athlete thinks, oh, I got to go to this school here to go pro. But no, you're not. You're one of the top 5% of your players that are playing basketball at your age. You can stay exactly where you are, live a regular life. You don't have to go to this all boys school in the middle of nowhere and do that. And that hurts their development and how we're able to get guys and market them. And then you only stand at college 1 year, so we don't get to know you and then build a personality. The closest thing we had to a guy that came out of college that was able to really build. Because I would say Cooper Flagg, we could see it, but they were I know about Zion when he was a sophomore in high school. Someone had told me, there was look at this YouTube video. And he had a YouTube channel, and I was just like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And then like it grew, goes to Duke, but then we know the rest. But it's just like they're not staying long enough, and the NIL is not going to help that. So it's just like they have to get on this problem and kind of figure it out. Also, they have to pull back on the LeBron angle, and it's tough because he plays for a top market. They got to pull back on that. It's like, guys, you're going to look up one day, he's going to be gone. The NBA has to look at doing something different.
I got you. Yeah, like I said, I don't know who the guys are. Like I said, Anthony Edwards, just even with his background, because even you look at Michael Jordan and LeBron, one thing they had, now whether or not they've been totally clean or not, these guys were married early. Jordan had his wife early on. She was in the Hanes commercials with him and stuff. LeBron has always been with his lady. Again, from what we know, you don't hear any scandals or dirt that's come out. But when Anthony Edwards was like, look, I just want to pay you 18 years of child support and be done with it, that's just not a good look. Like you're not going to get a lot of national brands when they stand behind that kind of thing. So I think that, again, to be a face of the league, I think there's a lot of things that come, again, on and off the court. And I don't think he's certainly the guy to do it. And quite frankly, a lot of these guys are certainly in that position. But I think Jordan and LeBron occupied a very unique space. And certainly the NBA was able to capitalize. We didn't find out about the dirt stuff, at least on MJ. We didn't find out about that, until much later on after his playing career.
I think it's Wemby, like I mentioned during the All-Star game, because at that time, even Anthony Edwards, he stated out the reason why they were playing competitive because they was following Wemby. So there's anybody who has a chance, and Wemby's mindset, because he's so young, but people are already saying he has a Kobe mindset. Like he's very focused for a young player.
But even Kobe had his lady. Now again, we all know what happened in Colorado later on, but he was already Kobe by then. So again, Wemby, he needs a girl, he needs a lady. Like I don't know, one of these models. Yeah. He needs a nice piece on his arm, and I think you can certainly run with that. But I think especially, all these guys, they all kind of share that same profile. Serious about the game, passionate about the game, or can articulate the game, but also you got these other things outside the sport that I think they're looking for. So hopefully they can get there. But listen, we got about another hour and a half of the show. So let's get into the topics we're supposed to be talking about tonight. Obviously, the big news coming out today. Obviously, Kyler Murray is being cut from the Cardinals, which means he's going to be available for the rookie cap. So he's just added to the list of all these QBs who are on the quarterback market at this point. And now you have a dilemma because on the flip side, we just had the NFL Combine. I think you might have had like 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the whole Combine. And those that didn't even practice in the Combine. And so you have a scarcity at QB. And in fact, that group was the only group that didn't surpass. So this was the fastest NFL Combine ever. Like all of the major groups shattered 40-yard records on average across the board. The quarterbacks, you had this one guy, as I told you guys about, Taylor Green, 6'6", ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's raw, but he was, if anybody kind of jumped out from all those QBs at the Combine, you got them. So you have a relatively weak quarterback class that's coming out. You have all of these veteran QBs who are looking for a new home. And what we've just seen with Sam Darnold, we just see another example of, again, getting into the right situation. So where do you think this leaves, I guess, the state of the quarterbacks when we come to this? You got the trade deadline that opens up next week, or free agency opens up next week. So where do you think some of these guys are going to land? What do you think, did anybody from this combine, as far as the QB position, did anybody impress you outside of, like I said, Taylor Green? Certainly he's a standout. And again, I don't even know if he'll play the position. They may try to convert him to wideout. But what were your impressions of the draft and just your overall view of the quarterback market for 2026, 2027? Where do you think that is at right now? And since you guys are, connected to Kyler Murray from Texas, where do you think he lands? As I told you guys, I think he should go to Houston. I think Stroud might be, I don't want to mark him off as done, but he may need, just like Sam Darnold, he may need a breath of fresh air. And maybe go into another market, another team. Maybe go to Miami or something like that. Go somewhere else before you can sign him to that big $250 million contract. Let him get some reps and get a fresh start environment somewhere else. So that's kind of my general overview of it. But let's start with Dante. Your thoughts on the draft, your thoughts on Kyler, on the overall quarterback market. What do you think he lands? What would be the best spot for him?
From what I've heard, I know one team he was interested in at one point. He was interested in the Raiders, so he could play with Chip Kelly. Obviously, Chip Kelly got fired, but the other team was Minnesota, because the reason why he didn't get traded is because of that large contract. And so that's why, normally with a quarterback, you would think they would say, hey, we're going to hold on to him and then try to make a trade and get some picks. But they just went ahead and released. I'm assuming once they released that they were going to cut him, they probably had sniffed around to see if they could trade him, and it was like no, and so they just let him go. But Minnesota, because I would assume, hey, you want to go to a team where you can go and compete and actually win, and you probably want to go with somebody that's good with quarterbacks. So the Texans' idea would be if he just simply wanted to go and be a backup, because the thing is, he's playing Stroud. Obviously, he's playing good enough to get his team into the playoffs. But so he's not going to come and take that job. With Kyler, I think he's made the playoffs like once. But it's just one of those deals. I don't know. I know that everybody in the league that needs a quarterback, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's Minnesota, those teams are all in play, because it's going to be like the situation with Russell Wilson. They're paying the bulk of the money, and then you're just going to make the minimum. So everybody that has a starting job is in play, unless it's like the Clevelands of the world where it's just weird over there because they got Watson. But it's worth a shot. My thing is, I know I said I hadn't liked how he's looking with Arizona. I would say, hey, it's worth a shot because talent-wise, you just said it. You want Ty Simpson? You can get Ty Simpson all day long, but you want Ty Simpson, or you want a guy on his sheet? And my thing is, now I would say he should, and I heard someone say he should use his leverage and say, I don't want you to do me like Daniel Jones and tag me. I don't want you, so I don't want to get transition tag, franchise tag, anything like that. And probably they said a no trade clause, but honestly, I wouldn't even push for that, because if you sign a deal, if you're winning or playing well, probably not going to trade him at the deadline anyway. So I don't think that's just necessary, but I think a lot of teams should be in play. I mean, as bad as it sounds, and that quarterback needy, the Jets need to pick up the phone.
Gotcha. Shawnee, your thoughts on the combine, the quarterback market, and Kyler Murray in particular?
Well, combine, I let you and Dante. I didn't get a chance to really watch a lot of the combine stuff this year. But just for as Kyler Murray, I think Minnesota would be a good landing spot for him. I think if he do go to Minnesota, it just further illustrates. I mean, I think, I don't know if it was me or one of us, we made the comment after the Super Bowl about how Minnesota looks like after letting Sam Darnold go. I can imagine how people will be thinking that if Kyler Murray ultimately goes there, it's just another notch. Like, why did y'all draft J.J. McCarthy? And it's one thing that you could draft him, but then you thought it was a good idea just to throw him out on the field. Technically, his first season, because his rookie season he didn't play because he was injured. But you let go of Darnold after winning 14 games for an unproven rookie QB. Now you're bringing in another quarterback potentially if he goes there. Like it just don't look good for McCarthy as far as his development up there. Texans, Murray the Texans. No, I think I mentioned last week that I believe the Texans are going to give Stroud his full opportunity. He has this year, and then I believe they will pick up the option on him for his 5th year. And then after that, okay, then we definitely gonna have to see what we're gonna have to do before we even think about giving this huge mega, second contract where quarterbacks take about 25-30% of the cap on that particular team. So even me has critically I've been about Stroud all season. I'm like, keep Stroud, because unless we all just think everybody's going to have this Darnold type of redemption arc as far as he going to a team, with a good quarterback development coach, and then next thing you know, it's a totally different career for him. I don't really know, because unless Kyler Murray goes through like a hard-nosed program, because remember with Kyler Murray, it's not really his athletic talent. People don't talk about it. He has the skill set. What Kyler Murray people say about him is, reports about him, is his commitment. You already know if you're an NFL starting quarterback, they pretty much expect you to sacrifice everything else. Like literally, you don't spend time with your family. You have to be consumed by football. And obviously that's not Kyler Murray. And you heard reports about that, how at one time the Cardinals had to try to sneak in a cause about he had to watch so many hours because he was always playing video games instead. And maybe that's because he was the number 1 overall pick and they picked him up because they're just giving him all type of leeway. But I don't know, going to a new franchise, they're going to give him that. So I don't know what's in store, because I kind of feel like that the ceiling has been set for Murray. Right now, the ceiling still hasn't been set so far for Stroud. So it's still an unknown factor for Stroud. You just got to find out how to fortify his mind to make sure his decision making is better. But the work ethic is there. Murray, we see the talent you have, the physical talent traits, but your mentality is always going to be something that's maybe lead franchises to cause a pause before he can ultimately get that franchise quarterback label. So that's my eyes on him. Oh, you muted, Mr. Bennett.
Sorry about that, Coach. Your thoughts on if you saw any of the combine, any takeaways, especially at the QB position at the combine. Your thoughts on Kyler Murray, who joins the class. So you have Kyler, you have the Miami quarterback Tua that's out there. You also have the guy from the Packers. He's also out there as far as a potential quarterback option. That teams may want to pick him up. The guy played for Liberty University. So you got those 3 QBs that are those 3 are the prominent QBs that are out there. Should teams try to take a risk in this draft or go after one of these vets and give them a fresh start somewhere else? But I disagree. I certainly would. I would put Stroud in that conversation again before you commit to him or look to paying that long-term money. If I can get something for him, I may want to roll that dice as well and see if I can get Kyle on a contract. What say you?
Just in reference to the combine, yeah, I saw it. I was totally blown away with the times they ran, those early young 4s. Yeah. I've always remembered me running a 4.6. That was my goal, and then when I made it, I thought that was the greatest thing. But to see these guys running 4.2, 4.3, 6'5", 230, 220. I think we'll see a different level of NFL action for those that do get drafted, because the rookies are always going to play hard and give you their speed. I didn't really see anything other than that as far as quarterback. It's going to be some quarterbacks taken second round, but I think the NFL is almost outside, especially if quarterbacks move around outside of Murray. I think the next 2 or 3 years is going to be a slow impact of quarterbacks coming into the league. That's just my opinion from what I'm seeing, because teams are solidifying quarterbacks, and you have to be a bad team to get a good quarterback, which we'll see with the Raiders. I think with that combination, they're going to be good. The Raiders will be one of the last teams, because other than that, we'll see with the quarterback. I'll say this and I'll shut up. It probably would be Mary for Tua swap out. Just both of them need a change of scene, and hopefully, But I don't see Mary going to Texans at all. They're not even going to look. I'll draft a backup before I take Mary at the Texans. Yeah, but I would. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Stroud is there. He's their quarterback. As long as Nico's there, Stroud is their quarterback.
I don't see any team. I mean, unless you just get him on a super cheap, definitely don't trade for Tua, because his concussion history. Knowing your luck, you put him out there on the field, and he out. You like, damn it! I knew I should have.
He might be damn as good, man. I can't see people taking that.
Yeah. So I think if you're desperate, you'll do it. But I did want to say this about the combine that we're noticing more. They're going to have to change the combine schedule a bit, because one reason I did hear the times were up for the position groups was because they were a smaller batch of guys, especially the guys that know they may not run as fast. And so a lot of them, with the better players being in the college football playoffs, when they're doing their combine training, they're actually healing up from that long college season. So it's like, we got the long college season, it ends on the 20th, and you got a combine in a month. You got to kind of rehab, and if you got to look a little something that you've been dealing with since November, try to get that cleaned up. So now we're looking at guys, the pro days might return back to being the really big deal, and the combines are just for medicals.
Yeah, for sure. And you saw the strangest thing I saw from the combine is you had Bennett, my namesake Bennett from Miami, got booed mercifully every time he came up to throw a pass. Where I'm like, wait a minute, Indiana, you guys won the championship. What are you booing that guy for? But it was so audible in there, like it became like a running joke inside. Every time he touched the ball, they had smoke for him. So we'll see if he can make it to the league. The guy's almost 30 years old, it seems like. So I don't know. So maybe he might be a fourth or fifth round. Yeah, he's up there. He exhausted every option he could in college. But I would say the two standouts that I saw outside of the Taylor Green was the Styles brothers from Ohio State. You got the linebacker and safety. I don't know. You may have a team crazy enough to draft both of them in the same draft. You get those two guys together. But again, they definitely freakish athletes, freakish numbers that both of those guys set up. So they're going to be a problem, certainly at the NFL level. So I will be definitely looking out for those guys. And I think both of them, the younger brother at safety, I think they've raised their draft stock tremendously. I mean, Styles, if it wasn't for Mendoza, that's almost like the obvious pick. You can make an argument that Styles is the best player, period, in the draft. And his brother, again, I think he might have worked himself into a first-round pick at safety. So I would be very much looking at those guys as potential, certainly as potential first rounders for sure. Certainly the Sonny Styles definitely, but his brother may also get some love also. Just FYI, if you want to get some info from you guys, franchise tags, Daniel Jones of Indianapolis, you got George Pickens of Dallas, and Breece Hall of the Jets has also been tagged. What's the news out of Dallas? I don't think this was unexpected. because I don't think Jerry has the money per se to pay what Pickens is going to want. And what's that tag price looking like for Pickens? What are they putting on it?
I think it's around 28 million. And I think it's now what they did give him, they gave him the tag to where basically if he wants to pursue an offer to see, hey, what's my value, he can pursue it and the Cowboys can match it. So they gave him that type of tag. And I know that Jeremy Jones, they gave him the transition tag. So it wasn't quite the highest tag. So it's kind of like, and I would say in Pickens' case, they did notify him. It is the same agent they dealt with Michael Parsons. So, hey, they know he plays hardball. He's trying to get the most for his guys.
Right.
So it's kind of like they're probably not going to do a deal unless Pickens leaves to give the Cowboys that sweetheart deal that they're looking for. Plus, it's a situation where this was 1 year of elite production, and they want to see more. I guess the stuff off the being late, the little stuff like that. They want to see that, make sure that everything is fine with that, and that's some of the whispers I've heard. But for the most part, I think he'll be back unless somebody blows them away with like a trade offer or something like that. But I do think it's full on. He's going to be this year probably under the same.
Gotcha. And now, what's the deal I'm hearing also about the Cowboys? Jerry Jones is basically saying he's opening up the checkbook to build this defense.
Bust the budget.
Don't listen.
Bust the budget.
I'm just saying. So what's all that smoke about?
The bust the budget thing. What did he say? Borrow from my future, which is something they don't like to do. They like to match up whatever the salary cap space is. That's what the money that they spend. They try to do it like that. Now, what I did hear when he said bust the budget, you always got to put that good old asterisk by it. It's not going to be the Trey. He's not going to go out and sign Trey Hendrickson and then the other top corner on the market. Was it Lante Taylor or the guy from Tariq Woolen, forward song? They're not going to go out and sign. They're not going to go out and make those two kind of moves. I did hear realistic targets because they're clearing all the money up and getting the book straight. Would be like Nakobe Dean. He played for the Eagles, played with Parker, would know the defense and be able to make the calls. That would be an unrealistic option. I think one of the safeties from the Cardinals, he's an option. Things like that, like multiple players, like multiple players that you would go out and sign, but not nothing like. And I think like Nakobe Dean's projected salary to be like $11 million a year. So that kind of deal, which they've never spent more than $7 million. So when it's that bust the budget, he's meaning, hey, this is the number 32 ranked team in signing free agency dollars. They're gonna up that more than they normally would. So it's once again like all in. It's a bit of a he knows what he's doing when he's saying that. He's gonna get the fans, the super fanboy that mindless, but oh, he's gonna do this. It's like, why are you setting yourself up with that?
Yeah. Sean, what's the major draft need of the Cowboys this year? Because I'm thinking, like I was just talking about the Style brothers. If he really wants to invest in defense, you guys get pick at 12 and at 20. Could you see them actually making a package deal to move up to grab Sonny Styles?
I don't think they're gonna move up. I think they're gonna stand packed at 12. They definitely need secondary help. I believe both corner and safeties. They need linebackers. I mean, basically, at every level they need linebackers, safeties, corners, defensive edge rushers. They just need, that's why I don't think they'll trade up, because they just need those picks. Remember, they already lost a pick when they traded for Williams. So now they said we need the rest of our picks so we can try our best to kind of fill these gaps on our roster. But yeah, going back to what Jerry, and don't listen to Jerry. I mean, he's just trying to say something, you remember last year Jerry was talking about all in, and all in basically. Well, was that? That was last year. So he got basically ended up trading Parsons, which I was okay with at the time, because I was like, okay, it's going to give you some more space to be active in free agency. But yeah, Jerry just be saying stuff is to kind of put the Cowboys fan base up here, kind of put them on a string so they can That's the main thing. And the thing about it, even though as much as it annoys me when he says stuff like that, like we said all in, or he gonna bust the budget this off season and whatnot, he gonna go after these, basically spare no expense going after some of these free agents. As much of it annoys me because it's the same thing especially after a bad season, especially after it's his way of kind of putting this false hope to the fan base. But there are there are fans here in DFW who will take this and run with it. They will go out and Jerry about to spend money. Jerry about to spend money, and they so emotionally involved. They live and die with what Jerry Jones saying. Those really the fans.
So can you call yourself a true Cowboys fan if you're not? I mean, if you're not, so basically, you and Dante are basically saying you guys are no longer drinking the Kool-Aid that Jerry's offering.
If one thing about me, I follow trends. If I've seen you basically run this team almost especially during the Romo years and after. You've been running this team the exact same way. You keep hitting your head on the same exact wall in the playoffs. So we already know that's the max we're gonna go. And if we fall short, it's gonna be ugly. But you keep doing the same thing every offseason. So I already know you don't like to spend money in free agency. You just don't like doing it. Especially after that Brandon Carr deal. Was it Brandon Carr? Yeah. That was the last time they really just spent money. That was the last time they spent money for a top free agent at the time. Before Brandon Carr got exploded by Calvin Johnson. But all they do is build through the draft. So, to me, I've been a fan of the team long enough. I'm noticing your trends. So I don't need to sit here and listen to your word about when you say stuff. I'm like, dude, you say the same thing every offseason, and then you go out doing the same exact. You follow the same exact path.
All right. So hang on. So we need a non-biased view. So, Coach, is Jerry serious this time? Is he really is he gonna break the bank to bring in these players? Is he gonna move up in the draft? Do you think Jerry is this the year where Jerry finally gets it done? To build up this woeful and horrid defense. Do you think he goes all in as he's promised once again to Cowboy Nation that he was going to do this? What's your thoughts on Jerry and his claims of taking this draft a lot more seriously?
Well, two reasons why. He's restructured the contracts of his two key players. He's restructured both of their contracts, right? So I think he's going to go look to get some good draft like he does. He does want to do the draft, but I think he's going to spend some money on at least a player on each side of the ball. I think Pickens franchising him was a placeholder, which hopefully they sign him to a long-term deal. But, yeah, I think Jerry's going to spend a little money. It may not be initially, but he knows when the season starts. He knows that, it's going to be some players moving around once this new league start. I think they already got the budget for the new league. So him restructuring those contracts says a lot to me. He's usually heartfelt on what he does, but he knows that they need defense and a running game. They're always in need for a running game. They're going to have their two receivers, but some linemen again. Yeah. And a good backup. They're going to need a good backup. So I think he's going to break the bank, at least $50 million. 60, that's all. He ain't going to give you too much.
What's the Cowboys cap numbers looking like right now, guys?
What to say? I think they
right now, I know that they are right now. They're cap compliant. They're cap compliant right now, but I think they're gonna flip some additional switches on contracts to get to. I've heard they can get to like 40 million, and then of the 40 million, they're probably gonna spend. I was hearing one of the beat reporters said they probably will send like 26, 27 of that, so that when you go into the season, you have a certain amount of money in case you see a move that needs to be made. So that's what I've heard, and that was like from one of the local guys from the Sports Car Telegram. He was mentioning that today on the when he was on the radio.
Well, I'm looking at a quick snapshot, real quick of the Cowboys contract situation. As far as total cap allocations, as far as the money they already paying towards the players, they currently rank ninth in that. So they up there with the money they spending. They spending over 320 million on that one. But their total cap space, they're currently ranked 20th. So they don't. It's not like they have a lot. They're in the bottom half of the league with just under 7 million in cap space. Now I don't know if this includes after the restructuring of Dak and Tyler Smith's deal, but yeah, they. But again, this is nothing new. They would do these things, but if there's a free agent out there who is trying to get paid, trying to get money, you're not looking at the Cowboys. They don't even bother trying to go that way because they're not going to give you that money.
Mm. Interesting. All right, guys, just to share some additional, there was a major trade that took place. Just want to share my screen and just give us a heads up. Also, again, just talking again about the combine and just the results that came out of that. So again, you saw fastest combine ever, with the exception of the QB position, but it was still second all time when it came to the 40-yard time. So again, these athletes, even the O linemen, certainly defensive linemen, all these guys running sub 540s now. So again, a very athletic group of athletes coming. But there was a trade. Kansas City traded their cornerback Trent McDuffie to the Rams for their first round pick, 5th round, 6th round pick, and 2027 3rd round pick. Now again, he's a very decent safety. He's not like he's an all a Pro Bowl or all pro, but this seems like certainly the Chiefs got a pretty hefty haul for this player. Who you think got the better end of this deal? The Rams or the Chiefs? Start with Shawnee and we'll work it down.
I think the Rams, if it is fulfilling a huge need for them, because you remember they could have went to the Super Bowl, because you couldn't point the finger at Matt Stafford. That offense showed up. That defense just couldn't stop anything. They need a Trent McDuffie to go against a Smith and Jigma, because they were just getting blasted, So they need to upgrade. They needed a corner that can play against the better receivers. So it's definitely gonna help them, I believe, immediately. With them drafting, exchanging the picks that they did, kind of go back to one thing you learn about Sean McVay. If there's a coach that had the mantra of F them picks, it's him. And if there's a player that's out there that he needs, them draft picks they're not gonna slow him down. They're not gonna stop him. So I think it's going to. Cause remember, next season is almost going to be. Cause go back to that screenshot one more time, Mr. Bennett.
Let me bring it back up.
Cause you remember next year for KC, that they might as well prep for a high draft pick. You remember they're not going to have Mahomes next year as well. So they already kind of like, man, it's just going to be a tough season. We're going to have to ask our fan base just to be patient with us, go through the L's. And so that trade, when they traded McDuffie, is just so they can really, I believe it was for this year and next year, that 3rd round pick for 27. They gonna really try to with those. So they're gonna have 2 first round picks, and then more with the 5th. They just trying to re-up their squad, in preps of when Mahomes ultimately comes back. So they don't have no high expectations next year. So they kind of try to, who knows, maybe one of these picks will maybe try to get him a new weapon per se. So I think this trade helps both teams, because it definitely fills a need for the Rams, and due to the Chiefs' current situation, all these draft picks can definitely help them put together a better football team until their franchise QB come back in 28. So
I got you. Dante, who got the best of this trade? Who got the better of this trade?
I think I would say the Rams. Well, I would say both kind of won, but it's not like the Chiefs got fleeced. But I still say the Rams because for an immediate pickup. Trent McDuffie is a former All Pro, so he does have pretty good pedigree. And my thing is he wants to get paid. I'm assuming he's going to the Rams, and they're willing to pay him. And I give them a good as far as an organization. It's always a good move if you're not going to pay a player. Why not get something for him so you lose him for nothing? And you get him now because if you let him stay with the team and walk, our comp pick comes the next year, and the highest the comp pick will be is in the third round. So you get a first round pick for him. And like you said, they're rebuilding the team. I don't know. I know they still want to be competitive because obviously if they win enough games and Mahomes comes back, because I know what he got hurt in December. And so if it's a knee, well, let's just say if you count it conservatively, probably what 10 months. So it's like you want to at least be competitive and be in position to win some games and not just lose them because, you do still have some vets around. Because if that's the case, he doesn't have much trade value, but they might move fast from Kelsey as well. But I think it's good. I think they're going to they put them in play to get a cornerback probably at number 9. I hate that for my Cowboys because they might take one of the better corners in the draft, but they have been linked to Jeremiah Love. So it's kind of like how they want to build their team. You want to continue to build the offensive line. You got ammunition to build the offensive line or get a defensive back. And you got some middle round picks that you can throw some darts at. And then, a third round pick in 2027, that's nothing to sneeze at to use as well. So they can use picks maybe for next year to move up and get things in position. But, Sneed, Mr. F them picks, and the thing is, because of Atlanta with that terrible draft pick that they made, trade that they made, they still have that Atlanta pick. So like the Rams are sitting sweet because they can still get a premier talent in the top one, in the top half of the draft. I think it's a top 10 pick, and so yeah, they're rolling, man. They got an All Pro corner they need, a top pick. So they host the Super Bowl again, so they're looking to make another run.
How do y'all still? Cause you brought up Jeremiah Love.
That means nothing.
Do y'all believe he's a first round grade?
Yes.
Cause you know how there's people out there that don't believe that you should pick up running backs in the first round due to it's a lot of different variables they be mentioning that, but
I say when you get to a situation to where like positional value means something because for my money, Caleb Downs is the best player in the draft. And I know they tried to throw the injury concerns there, and I know he's not like a super athlete, but he's good at everything else. He's not slow by any means. He can mentally process, he can tackle, he can cover. He is a guy that can play the slot and keep your defense to where you can play your base because he can come and play the slot. So he changed a lot of things. I would say safety and running back or devalue, but if you have a running back that's so much better than another position and you have a team structured to win, that's where you can take them. Sometimes if you take a running back, if you're like the Raiders, you probably didn't need to take Genty because you're going to waste them because you don't have a line.
They're not going to waste them. That's what you call building a team around. They building a team. I think in this trade right here, right immediately, you could say the Rams, but these picks with the Chiefs, with their own picks they will have, and even next year, let's just say they go to the bottom. They may have a higher pick next year. So having another first round pick and getting some more picks, again, they have Andy Reid as the coach. He's not like a new coach coming in. Players are going to play for him. They almost won back-to-back Super Bowls and been dominant over the last 6 years. So taking a step back, I can see it, but I think just being under Andy Reid puts players in a different gear to me. I think they're going to band together and be a lot better than most people think just because of Andy Reid, because any quarterback he plugs in, they're going to be able to play within the system. They may not have the Patrick Mahomes flair, but he's going to protect them in the system. The Rams, they just trying to win a Super Bowl.
Gotcha.
But I don't see, I think they got the better deal with the 5 picks. We know the defensive players and offensive players are always in high. Well, skill positions outside the running back is always in high demand.
Gotcha.
And who's to say they can get him a 6th round running back?
Heard that. All right, let's move on to the main story tonight. So, has there ever been a more tragic sort of fall from grace? Here you had this guy makes it to his first Super Bowl, and in that Super Bowl breaks up with Cardi B at the Super Bowl, gets released from the Patriots. I mean, it's like the double whammy for Diggs. So is it over for Diggs? Can he rebound from this? Do you see another team picking him up? Certainly, he really wasn't a factor in the game. I know that defense for Seattle was hellacious, but I don't like seeing things like this happen to guys. But again, you pick Cardi B, so that's I guess just your own thing. Yeah, you decided to have a baby with her, but nevertheless, man, what was your thoughts on again Diggs being released by the Patriots? Do you think that he still has value in the league? And will teams want, I guess, some of the drama that may come with it? Because to my understanding, isn't there also some sort of criminal case that's still pending, or some sort of allegations that are out there as well? So he's got a lot of baggage, and certainly with this high profile dating history, do you think he still has a shot in the league, or will they, will teams let him go? Shawnee, what are your thoughts on Diggs and his future prospects in the NFL, or is his career essentially over?
Well, because we was talking about this at the top of the show, and I was bringing up, I think a lot of this decision that the Pats decided to release Diggs was mainly dealing with that off the field issue, which he has pleaded not guilty or whatnot, but right now he is facing a felony charge for strangulation and a misdemeanor charge of assault stemming from early December. So that, I think until that gets cleared up, because you don't know how long these cases will drag out. So until that gets cleared up, I don't think we're going to see Diggs in the league until that's been cleared up. Other than that, I believe if that never would have happened, I still believe he would still be in New England, because he was a major part in them getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
When them playing my Texans, I think he was one of the crucial. He had a important touchdown. And then he had some huge receptions to move the chains. And so he was huge for them this offseason and during the season. And I think he was definitely a reason why Drake May would, finish second in MVP, which was like, one of the closest, if not the closest MVP voted in NFL history. So I still believe he would be there. But, yeah, that pending, felony case or whatnot he has. Yeah, Patriots said, man, we appreciate your time. Gave him that good luck in your future endeavors type email and sent him on his way. But I think right now, until that thing gets resolved in whatever fashion, 'cause especially what the NFL has to go through, whatever the truth of it is, that whole Deshaun Watson thing, you just don't know. You don't want to be a Cleveland for whatever reason. Give this dude a fully guaranteed contract. Next thing you know, he's missing that season because he's suspended.
Yeah,
Diggs is not going to get that type of a contract, but if a team sign him up, because he's still a productive receiver, I believe, still a highly productive receiver. But you don't want to sign him, and then this thing comes down the road. Next thing you know, he's not playing for you because of whatever legal ramification that's coming from this his decision. So,
gotcha. Coach, your thoughts on Diggs? Is it over for him? Can he rebound from this? If so, what do you think he lands?
Man, it's just unfortunate that we're talking about off the field stuff with him. Clearly a premier receiver. He's had over 1,000 yards this year. And I think, but he still hasn't shown maturity and is starting to come out within the brand of the NFL. And they're not going to have it, with any player. Nobody's going to be allowed to be bigger than the game. And I believe this whole debacle with the strangling of the young lady, alleged strangling, and this Cardi B mess, I think the NFL probably had enough, and it'll be unfortunate if we saw him in his last game in that capacity, because we wasn't talking about Diggs making plays for the Super Bowl. We was talking about Diggs and his baby mama drama. And we talk about the face of sports. The NFL, they expect everybody to sort of have at least somewhat of a mild off the field issue. These guys that are coming out with all of these type of social issues, you didn't hear about it in their playing days. So it's just unfortunate, man, because he's still a talent.
Gotcha. Dante, you have any thoughts on this before we get to our last block and we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. The other thing is, I know he was productive this year, another year older, and a couple more off the field things. And I think with another team, it might not have been, but the Patriots want to be buttoned up with the off the field stuff, except for when their owner gets caught up in massage parlors. But so you got to look at it as like, do I want to deal with this guy? How much can he give me this next year? I think somebody gives him a chance, but always as the NFL discipline. And it's kind of like, if they look at it and deem like the incident on the boat with the pink substance, if they add that onto this situation, they could give them a suspension or put them on the exempt list. So I know that I've heard rumors that the Ravens and different teams are interested, but that, like you said, they have to let that clear. Plus he's a vet, he might wait until camp until everything happens. So I think he's worth another chance. I wouldn't want my team to take a shot on him right now. It probably need to be a desperate, needy team like the Patriots were that need some stars for offensive weapons.
Yeah, I agree. And even with off the field stuff, I mean, I don't know if that's it. I mean, we had kids because he's got several baby mothers, from what I understand. And
he had a banner year with kids.
Yeah. But I think you had that guy, Rogers Cromartie, I think he played for the Jets for a time. He had 10 or 11 kids or something like that. I don't think that the league, as long as you still keep those kids, none of those were public figures. He kind of kept all that kind of stuff to himself. He's taking care of his kids, obviously. So I don't think the league is necessarily, come down. But because all these actions have been so public, I think is the main reason why. Again, because one thing you do not embarrass the shield. And if you do that, then you're not going to have a long career in the NFL. So I think that's where it gets to a point where if he was taking care of all his kids and whatnot, and the mamas were happy and everything and whatnot, but once you get into criminal accusations and whatnot, or public embarrassments, humiliations, I think the league, I think that's you reached the end of your rope with the league. But go ahead, Sean, you make your last point.
Oh no, I just one thing we know about the NFL, they have proven if they view you as a black eye, they have no problem banning you out. They will close that door, lock you out, and have you just stand on the outside, and they'll just keep you there. So if they feel like you like a potential black eye for the league, they've shown on multiple occasions. I mean, definitely by far most recently is Kaepernick, who didn't even have no off the field issue. It was something different, but still, they said, man, you just not worth it. And them NFL owners talk. As soon as one NFL owner makes a decision to put you on that blacklist, it's like you might as well just go add 31 more teams to it. They all about to put you on there. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, we close you out here at Patriots. Go over here and find one of the Cowboys or with the Raiders. Nah, they all close you out. So, I don't know. I know we was just talking about if this Diggs' last spot. And they like, man, like Dante said, he's also getting older. They said, man, you're not worth the headache no more, man. Just go ahead and just stay outside. Enjoy your money.
I hear you. Last point in that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll kind of use this as a final thought. Obviously, we're going to get into this later as we get closer to these events. As you know, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of these boxing exhibitions or guys who kind of fight on too long. But we do have, there was a major announcement in boxing this past week. So Floyd Mayweather, we already know that in the spring, he's supposed to be in an exhibition with Mike Tyson, which I have no intention of watching. But nevertheless, you're certainly going to have a number of people who will. But what seems to be legit is that Mayweather is literally coming out of retirement. Now, Manny Pacquiao came out of retirement and fought last year against a guy who just lost. Certainly this past week, he just lost, and a lot of people thought that Manny Pacquiao actually won that fight against the Latin gentleman. And so now this fight is set up September 19th on Netflix. And also throw into this, apparently Mayweather is suing PBC for like $350 million of back pay and whatnot. So what do you guys, just real quick, your thoughts on this going on? Obviously, I don't like the rematch. In fact, I'm still waiting. I want my $150 back, by the way, that I spent on that lousy pay-per-view. I had that was the last big boxing party that I threw. I had 4 screens, big screens going on. I had food. I had 4 rooms showing this fight. And it was one of the most biggest disappointments. And at that time, $150, the most I ever spent on a pay-per-view just to get the pay-per-view, not to mention the gathering and everything else. So I still want my money back from that awful fight. But what do you guys think what's going on? Is this just fighters just getting broke and just need the money? Apparently, Mayweather made $1 billion in his boxing career. And still he's coming out, putting his 50-0 record on the line for this endeavor. So just real quick, it needs to be our final thoughts. Again, as this fight gets closer, we'll follow the drama. So anything can happen, especially in boxing, as we get closer to this event. But your initial thoughts on this matchup? Will you be watching it since it is on Netflix? So you not have to pay the pay-per-view. I'm saying right now, I'm not watching it. But I stopped after that first fight. I did not buy another pay-per-view by Floyd Mayweather. I was done. And he was cherry-picking these opponents just so he can get to his 50-0 record. Wasn't worth the money. So I stopped caring about Floyd Mayweather then, and I don't really care now. So that's my 2 cents on it. Shawnee, what's yours? And we'll just do our quick hits. We'll get out of here, and then when we're back in full force, we can talk about it next week. So, actually, Coach, why don't you go ahead? I hear you chirping. So, Coach, go ahead. Your thoughts, then we'll get to Shawnee and Dante. We'll get out of here.
Hey, real quick, man. That's like me and you getting out in the ring, man. And our 50s talking about we want to box, man. That's the unfortunate thing about it. And I think, and it comes down to money, man. This is a money thing, man. For Floyd to even be going on 50 years old, talking about he want to get back in the ring with a guy who's probably the same age, it's ridiculous, man. So all the old heads, man, get in shape, and we're going to meet in the park and just start boxing each other, man. So bring all your medical supplies. But, yeah, man, I'm not going to pay for it. I'll catch the results like everybody else do. But it's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah. Shawnee, your thoughts?
Well, you said not only – Mayweather has this fight with Pacquiao, but it's also been approved by him and Tyson.
Well, they say it's supposed to be, but I know the exhibition with Tyson came out first, so I don't know if that fight is still going to be on. I think it was initially slated for May, but that fight now may be off because it's too much to risk. Again, assuming if it's going to be a legit sparring session, it may be too much to risk at this time, knowing he has this big fight with Pacquiao in September. But either way, I wasn't interested in that fight, and I'm really not that interested in this one. But what say you on the matter is this, what's going on? You think this is just money? Are these guys broke? It's just another case of just 2 broke individuals just looking for a paycheck? What do you think is going on?
This is 100% about money. You mentioned the point that Mayweather made over $1 billion in his fight career, and I'm already looking at even with that, this dude is facing, like it's been reported, like he's in heavy financial distress. He got major debt, tax issues, lawsuit, all type of stuff. So and it's no secret when, especially during his heyday, Floyd was very flashy with his money. So I can imagine his spending just wasn't the best. So I remember the time. There was a time. Who was that? Antoine Walker, who made over
$100 million, $120 million, and
man, we was like, man, how did you blow that? Well, Floyd, dude, if you made over $1 billion in your career, and you somehow just finding yourself on these potential, dark financial times to the point where you'll be held. I mean, you're supposed to be retired. You kept saying, "I'm retired." Now you doing all these exhibition fights. It's not flipping a tire. It's finding a tire that's been sitting at the bottom of the lake for years. Now you're just trying to pull it out and try to. Yeah, it's like, dude, you just
the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, it's like, dude. So yeah, I believe this fight. I don't know Pacquiao's financial standards right now. Pacquiao, I'm like, hell, we already know. One thing about what I'm noticing, these exhibitions, I guess, as far as attention, these exhibition fights, no matter who the boxer, ain't they these older boxers or whatever, they are generating more social media talk than from legit boxers, unless it's like two legit standouts in boxing. But these dudes who supposedly already been retired and whatnot, and then they get on here, they get these Netflix deal fights. Netflix, they're gonna draw the people in, so they get their money. But yeah, I believe this is definitely a money grab for Mayweather.
Gotcha. Dante, give you the last word tonight. We'll get out of here. Dante, you there? I think your screen's froze. You good? We did.
Went in the abyss.
All right, Dante, you there? Okay, we might have lost our man here, but yeah, we're gonna close it here because we got a show coming up right on here on the BMU network right after this one. So we're gonna ask you guys certainly stay tuned for our guy Tarus and his show, and certainly he's got a lot to talk about, certainly on the political front and whatnot, everything that's going on, all the drama and whatnot. I kind of stopped talking about that a while ago. I'm too old for this right now. So, but Tarus, the young buck, he brings the smoke and the fire and whatnot. Certainly support the brother greatly. And, so certainly be looking forward to, what he's got to say on current events. But stay tuned here, stay on the Black Men Unfiltered Network. But again, make sure you hit the like button so that as you leave the show tonight. Certainly we appreciate all the support that you give us. Certainly you see our super chat scroll at the bottom. We appreciate what you give us there. But certainly for myself, for Dante, who had to bounce a little bit early, certainly up. You just wave, say just gotta say goodbye. But certainly we appreciate you guys being with us. I'll be back. I got a 6:45 a.m. flight tomorrow morning, so I'll be back in Jersey, and so next week I'll be back in my home environment and whatnot. But the show must go on, and certainly I always appreciate being able to show. This show means a lot to me, and you guys mean a lot to me. And I always appreciate it if I can be with you guys. I'll also definitely support you. So for everybody else, take care, enjoy your week, take care, God bless, and we will see you next time. Good night.